from 2025. I took some notes. I took some notes in my book here. I took some notes in my book. So, I'm going to start with the first match, which was Christian Cage and Adam Copeland versus FTR. They start with some little backstage segments with Wendell Clark of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys, which I've never watched, but my friend Michael loved. So, I love this segment because it was kind of lame, and I think that wrestling is at its best when it's like kind of dumb. The pop for Bubbles was crazy. I think that every show should start with a big hometown crowd pop. Then the match, Dax has a broken nose from Dynamite where he got hit. They are fighting for a while. Eventually, Stokely pulls the ref out to stop the count, and we begin to hear unfamiliar music. Then Beth Phoenix, now Beth Copeland, walks out, spears Stokely. Firewoman carries him out. It was so good. I've never seen any of Beth Phoenix's stuff, but this made her look so strong and so cool, and she looks even cooler later. So she walks out, gets rid of him. They keep fighting. It's a really, I think, well put together match. I thought that all the near falls were good. I know that some people didn't like them. I liked them until the very, very end. There was a second shatter machine to Copeland, and he like kicked out of that, but it wasn't really a pin, and then he like does his move and then wins, and that felt like slow and a little bit unorganized. I don't think that he needed two shatter machines. I think that they've built up the shatter machine enough that just the one would have been fine. So Beth comes back out. Christian and Copeland are celebrating. They hug. It's very cute. But then Mother Wayne wheels out Nick Wayne in a wheelchair, which I loved. Obviously, that's hilarious. And they like distract him, and then Kip Sabian appears, and he handcuffs Copeland to the ring, and then FTR take out Christian Cage, and you can see that like Cope is telling Beth to leave, and she kisses him, and then she just starts beating on FTR. I love this. She's so cool. I thought that it made her look so strong. They spike pile driver her, which is so funny because they're like, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen in an AEW ring, and I'm like, I don't know. I think that crazier things happen, but that's okay. I understand. I love that now they've come out on Dynamite and they've like, this is an effective use of the term gaslight. They are like, we didn't do that. I can't believe that she made us do that. I couldn't even see. She punched me in my nose and my eyes were closed. I couldn't even see that I was spike pile driving her. I think that's so fun. I love FTR as heels. They're so fun to watch now. So I thought that was very fun. Next we have Eddie Kingston versus Big Bill. Eddie Kingston is back, everybody cheer. I know that they like had to promote him because he is like a name that came back. It felt a little unceremonious to me. I also like don't. I know that there's a lot that's been said about people who don't understand why it was with Big Bill, and I guess I'm also one of those. Just because he comes out wearing a Claudio Sucks Egg shirt. So, I think that they wanted to give him a win, but I also think that he could have just won against Claudio. And then there's like this tension of like, well, he loves Moxley, but he hates Claudio. And I'm afraid that they're not gonna do anything with that, because I kind of expected him to come back and like try and snap Jon Moxley out of this Death Riders thing, as like all that I could think of was in the Vampire Diaries they flip a switch, their humanity switch, and then that's linked to one person. So like Eddie would be what turns Jon Moxley's humanity switch back on. I'm so sorry. That's so dumb. But that is what I related it to. So anyway, I thought it was good. I thought it was the right amount of time. It's Eddie's first match back, so people were like, he looks rusty, and I'm like, yeah, probably. He's been gone for a while, so I don't really care, I guess. I thought it was like a fun match. Eddie ends up winning, then Brian Keith runs in. Then we get the lights out. We get Hook's signal, and he comes out to back up Eddie, and he hugs him. I don't really understand what's happening. I don't dislike this team up, but it feels very strange, and all that I can think is like, were they texting? Like, I mean, how did this come to be? So, I do think that Big Bill and Brian Keith are good opponents for Hook. I don't quite understand how Eddie fits into this. Also, I have to talk about this now because I haven't been able to talk about it, but Bravo released a new show called Next Gen NYC, and it is with like the old Real Housewives kids. So they've like grown up and they're moving to New York, but so is Hook's girlfriend. She's on the show, and she's not a housewife kid. She's one of the other ones that they brought in for the show. She just has a famous dad. I don't remember. But anyway, if you want like a weird Hook sighting, he's in the last episode of the show with a backpack, in a hoodie. They're at a bowling alley. He like comes in and then he like drops her off with the camera crew, and then he like leaves, which is so funny to me. But she talks about, she's like, yeah, I just met my boyfriend's dad, and it was really great, and I'm obsessed with the idea of meeting the parents, and it's Taz. So anyway, that's my reality TV connection for this one. Next, we have MJF versus Mark Briscoe in a tables and tacks match. MJF comes out all white, so you know that he's gonna bleed. He is in a feathered robe with a white collar wins t-shirt and these gloves, and they're like clearly like leather gloves so that he doesn't stick tacks in his hand, which is fine. But there is no way to make this length of glove not look like a woman's opera glove. So it is like a little funny that I'm like, maybe we just wear like a long sleeve shirt. I don't know. Or like, I don't know, like sleeves, like, I don't know. I don't know how to make it better. But he did come out and I was like, is he in like opera gloves? Like, okay. And again, it's personal protective equipment, fantastic. He should use it. Anyway, the match starts. MJF immediately rolls out, and then Mark takes the 4 buckets of thumbtacks that are all over in all 4 corners of the ring and dumps all 4 buckets onto the mat. And I loved this. It set the standard immediately, it set expectations, and I feel like this worked really well for MJF's style of wrestling, because he does very good at this anticipatory style of like who's going to fall into the tags first. Okay, now Mark Briscoe has fallen into the tags first, so when is Max going to fall into the tags? And it builds up this inevitability that I think is so interesting to work with when you have a match where you're waiting for somebody to do that. I think it was the same thing when Will Ospreay was doing the Tiger Driver, and you were waiting to see if he used it or when, because it's this very dangerous move. So I love that. MJF does this fantastic spot where he puts 2 tables away and puts them under the ring. Most heel thing that happened all night, and I include Beth getting the spike pile driver. That was so fantastic. They have my hated spot where they put thumbtacks into somebody's mouth. I hate that. That's the worst thing to me. That's the worst thing on the show. Darby Allin sets Jon Moxley on fire later on. It doesn't matter. The thumbtacks in the mouth will always be my most hated thing. It's so gross. At one point, Max puts Mark Briscoe's head between his legs, and Mark Briscoe's head is bloody. And so MJF is walking around like the biggest period stain you've ever seen. I just really appreciate representation in my wrestling, and I felt very seen in that moment. I did like the commentary was talking about how slippery tacks are because they get stuck in the bottom of your shoe, and then they just form like an ice skate. Like you don't have any traction now because it's just this metal circles all over the bottom of your shoe. I thought that was great to put over early, because then when Max slips but doesn't fall later when he's landing a move, you're like, oh my gosh, he did so good because he didn't fall, and his boots are probably stuck full of tacks. Briscoe jumps onto Max through a table that's covered in thumbtacks. I think that this was probably the best visual of the night because all the tacks like all the tacks flew off as they went through the table. I love that. And then Briscoe ends up winning with a J driller, which like, how are you not gonna love that? That's so sweet. I thought that was just very, very fun. And yeah, I really ended up liking everything about this match. I love MJF's promo that he does after that they show on Dynamite. I thought that was fantastic, and I love that he's still mad at Adam Cole, and it kind of makes me feel like Adam Cole might come back, but we'll see. So then we cut, and we have Jerry Lynn with Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. He wants them to get back together. This is just a continuation of that story. I actually kind of don't care if they're back together because I like them both as mid-card guys. I really like Anthony Bowens out on his own, trying to be taken seriously as a wrestler, and Max doing the same thing, but obviously in a way that you're not supposed to be taken seriously. I do like that they stuck, like, we're like, you know what we need? A new old man. Jerry Lynn. No, no more of the other old man. We need a new old man. So next we have Ricochet and Gates of Agony, who are now called the Demand, versus the Hurt Syndicate. I need to be so honest right now. I do not like the name, the Demand. And it's not that I dislike it, it's just that, they were named the Gates of Agony, which is the coolest name I've ever heard. And the Demand is just not the same as being called the Gates of Agony. Like, that really tells you what you're getting into. That strikes fear in my heart. You know? That's the coolest name ever. And then they all come out in matching coats to Ricochet, and usually I love matching outfits, but they used to come out in their traditional outfits. Toa Leone in like a Samoan outfit, I believe, and then like the Cameroonian traditional outfit, I believe, which I loved. Oh, it is so good. So it's not bad. I just am a little sad that it's gone. I can mourn it being gone for now. We get a video package where they remind us how mean the Hurt Syndicate was to Ricochet, and if you go back, you will see that I was on Ricochet's side. Like, I thought that was mean. They were really mean to him. They, like, called him a loser, and took the card back, and it just, so mean. And I was very interested in this idea of a heel that you feel deserves that, but also you're like, oh, that was a little bit too far. And I understand that perhaps I am the only one. Like, the fans really determined how he has become a heel, and I think that he's done great at that. I just wish that there was a little bit of this kind of thing where it's like, oop, no. maybe we're being a little bit too mean. So anyway, Ricochet is just destroying MVP's knee throughout this whole thing. And then everybody's beating on Ricochet. I did feel like Bishop Khan got a lot of time, which I really liked. And then I did feel like Toa Leone got like a lot of time, which was great because he's cool. So that was really nice. They do end up hitting MVP, and the Demand do end up winning, which I did not expect, like, at all, which was great. I was like, oh, wonderful. Next, we have Mercedes versus Rio for the TBS Championship. Rio looked stunning. She's best dressed of the night. She looks so good. And she's in a pink feathered coat with these gold accents. It's fantastic. Mercedes is entrance. She has like these men with their shirts off, each wearing one of her belts, which could have been really good. But unfortunately, all of those guys looked like they were 20, which I was just looking and I was like, oh my gosh, these are babies. She's got babies out here. So I like couldn't take it seriously because they all looked like 19. Oh my goodness. So it just made me laugh. Anyway, there's a quick start. Rio is really going for a pin throughout the match. At one point, Rio asked Bryan Danielson if it's okay for her to step onto the announce table to then jump off onto Mercedes. That was so cute. I love her. Such a good character. And then Mercedes does end up winning with a rough distraction and an eye poke, and she rolls up Rio for the pin. Makes sense. I love Rio. You could bring her back anytime. I do not care if they're like, oh, well, she just comes back when she, I don't care. Fantastic. Next we have, Kazuchika Okada versus Mascara Dorada versus Konosuke Takeshita for the Unified Championship. I was very unsure about adding Dorada into this match, and he proved me wrong. Like, the match starts, and very clearly Okada and Takeshita want time alone, and he will not let them have time alone, which I love. I feel like it really made the match. Anyway, outfits. Just 3 guys in the most amazing coats you've ever seen. Like, Takeshita's in his usual one. He looks fantastic. It's a great coat. It moves beautifully. Dorada's in a fur coat that's stunning, which I never really say about fur coats. And then Okada has this like lightweight layers and layers of mesh breezy coat, but it still looks like so expensive. I loved it. Dorada really is the workhorse, as I said. It feels like, I love that you can feel them underestimating him and him not allowing it. He does this insane double Hurricane Rana to the both of them. Fantastic. Amazing. A double Hurricane Rana. This was just a treat to watch. Okada pins Dorada after hitting a Rainmaker, and then there's like tension between Okada and Takeshita. There did not seem to be that tension on Wednesday. I want the tension back. I want to feel like the family is fractured. I think that that's very, 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 very fun and interesting. Next, we have Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley in a coffin match. Darby attacks as Mox enters, so we don't get a Darby entrance. I do have to point this out. I know that people have already pointed this out, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I do have to say it because I usually don't say this in, like, little reviews because people mess up things. The blade spot where he is digging, where Mox is digging into his pants pocket to try and get his blade out for, like, minutes. My mom noticed. And she's like, what is he getting out of his pocket? And I'm like, I think it's the blade. And she was like, oh my gosh. So I just have to point that out. I have to point things out when people who don't watch wrestling notice stuff, you know? I don't know what you want me to say about this match though. It was so fun. I had so much fun. I love a coffin match. Maybe it's dumb. I don't care. I love the idea of get them in a coffin. That's camp. That's hilarious. That's pro wrestling. Mox does tell Claudio Yuta and Marina Shafir to leave at one point. Oh, and Daniel Garcia. And, like, so they don't really interfere, which does make it a little bit odd when Pat comes back, but I will get to that. So, Danielson is on commentary, and he was talking about how it might be hard for him to be impartial. And then you see him, like, slide a duffel bag out towards Darby. In the duffel bag, the plastic bag that Jon Moxley used to choke Bryan Danielson out. Storytelling. I went crazy. And I didn't even love that spot. But that was so good. Pac returns though, ends up stopping the choking. He gets a body bag, he zips Darby up in it, they put Darby in the body bag into the coffin. Now, Pac has cut his hair, which is fine, but he's also in a big black t-shirt and black pants. And you guys bullied Pac into putting clothes on, and I will never forgive you for that. How dare you? People are like, oh my gosh, he looks like such a regular guy. Yes, I knew this. I saw a photo of him in glasses and a sweater, and when is just the most guy you've ever seen. That's like your friend's boyfriend. And now he's not in his little underwear and armbands anymore. And I am disappointed. I love that. I love that he was like weird. Like, the Death Riders are weird, but they also got this guy who's in his underwear. How dare you? Anyway, we got the conglomeration is backstage. They basically tell you that Orange Cassidy's coming back. He did. He came back on AEW Dynamite. I actually thought that they didn't make enough fanfare about him being back, which was a little disappointing. It just kind of felt not right to me. Like, it should have been bigger. So, but that's okay. Next, we've Chris Statlander, Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter, and Tekla all against each other in a AEW Women's World Championship 4-way match. They all look amazing. Statlander seemed to commit to this like purple color. The purple color looks great. I love it. We get Wheeler Yuta coming up, telling Chris some info that she ends up using. So we get a spot with Toni Storm yelling, "I hate bugs," and then stomping on Tekla while she's in the spider thing, which I really liked. Tekla has grown on me a lot. I think that she's a very interesting character. I feel like I understand her a lot more. Just really, really like it. There are lots of multi-person spots, which I think is great. And this is how I like 4-way matches to go, with lots of kind of all at once spots where like people are helping each other, but like not really. Like, I kind of don't like when it's like 2-on-2. And then we get a seatbelt pin from Chris Statlander, and she ends up winning. She's our new Women's World Champion, which was, I mean, wonderful. And like, oh, what a tangled web we weave. Like, Wheeler Yuta using the seatbelt pin against the best friends, like, and then telling Chris to use the seatbelt pin. I feel like it's this like wonderful way to remember about the best friends and Chuck Taylor and how he opened his home to Wheeler Yuta, which is so funny now that Trent is in the Don Callis family, because like he was railing against Wheeler Yuta for the longest time. So I love the idea that he like turned heel, but just like in a different way. And he was right about Wheeler Yuta, but they're like different. Anyway, I honestly, Chris Statlander would have been my last pick to win this match. I love her. So I'm psyched, but I didn't expect it at all, which I think is fun to keep things fresh every once in a while. Next, we have Bertito and Jet Speed and the Young Bucks and Josh Alexander and Hechicero all against each other in a 4-way ladder match for the Tag Team World Championships. Somebody said that Jet Speed was in Sonic and Tails gear, and I did not get that, but I thought that I would mention it. I might have just missed something. This is probably Bandito's least elaborate walkout outfit I've ever seen in a man. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. Josh Alexander really hasn't made a large impact on me, and I was reading like AEW's write-up of this match, and he seems to be all over this match, and I just don't really remember him. And I think it's just because I haven't really connected with him. Like, I still don't really get him. So that was like one of the surprising things to like look back on, where I'm like, I don't really remember him in the match as much. There's stuff that I've never seen before. Bailey absolutely obliterates his knees by doing a cannonball onto a Brody does something crazy, and then the ladder doesn't break. It like half breaks and then springs back up like a trampoline and flies off. That was crazy. That was just like ridiculous. But Brody do end up winning. The Young Bucks were the ones who really seemed to be running up the ladders, so it was nice that Brodito were able to get out that win. Bandito pulls off both belts, drops one to Brody, which I really liked. And then I see somebody in a white shirt and a black jacket run down to the ring. Later we find out that is Rocky Romero. It was like a quick shot. I was like, who's running down to the ring? And then, he is there to get beat up by Jack Perry, who has reappeared, who then is about to get beat up by the Young Bucks, but he has this, like, little smile, and then all the lights go out, and then we see a vignette begin to play, where we see Luchasaurus's part, but we see that Jack Perry is the one who dug him out of the unmarked grave, took him out of the coffin, reignited him. I do love the idea of this like medical facility set up in what, Jack Perry's basement. Fantastic. He dabbles. And then Luchasaurus comes out and he double choke slams the Young Bucks, and then he takes off his kill switch belt and he throws it into the audience, and then they hug. Oh, it was just wonderful. Just fantastic. It was like one of those things for like these past few weeks I have been like, I miss Jack Perry, I miss Orange Cassidy, when will they be back? So that's just nice. And then I do, while we're talking about people coming back, I do also have to mention that when Wardlow came back on the last pay-per-view, I think, or the one before, I knew that was going to happen. Get ready for this, because I follow Wardlow's gear designer on Tumblr. So the dirt sheets didn't see that one coming, didn't see that she was making him a new outfit, and said, new things coming. The dirt sheets need to get a Tumblr account. I had my sources, so you're welcome. Then we go backstage and Darby is setting Moxley on fire. Love. That was funny. The fire thing freaks me out a little bit, just because it's fire. You can't control fire. But it was fine. They seem okay. Then, lastly, we have Hangman Adam Page versus Kyle Fletcher for the AEW Men's World Championship. I love the stipulation that they put in that the Don Callis family cannot interfere, or else Kyle will be stripped of his TNT title. I thought that there would be a little bit more push and pull in that, and they didn't go that way, and that's fine. Made it just a straightforward, lovely match. The hot pink is back for Kyle Fletcher. He wasn't all white before, and I was afraid that that was going to be his new color, so I'm very, very glad that the hot pink is back. They do really build Fletcher up in this. Hangman looks beat. Like he is struggling. Fletcher is taking off the tape on his neck. He's going after his neck, so Hangman switches priorities and goes after Kyle's neck. And I think that was so good. But there's a buckshot lariat to Kyle. Hangman wins, whispers something to Kyle. I do. I think that this is great. I think that Bryan Danielson had some really great commentary in this match about how Kyle needed to cover, and Don being like, no, where he's good, and then it turned out, no, he needed to cover. So I thought that was wonderful. Overall, really like this pay-per-view. There aren't a lot of AEW pay-per-views I can enjoy or regret spending money on. I thought that this was fantastic.